Welcome back and thank you for joining us here on Kinh Doanh 101. We've talked about the SBA, SCORE, and SBDC, and now we want to introduce you to one more concept that isn't well known in the Vietnamese community and is something known as incubators. Much like baby eggs that need hatching, so do ideas, and these programs can help you obtain the right nurturing for your ideas. Incubators, also known as accelerator companies and innovation centers, specialize in helping you launch your new business. They provide everything from advice to training and mentorship from people who themselves have been successful starting small businesses.
So think of the incubator as a way to incubate the baby egg, right? So we're basically helping to expedite the birth of a new company. And so when you start a company, you have to learn skill sets such as writing a business plan, how to apply for loans, how to find funding. So all those things help you streamline that process. Where you'd be going to several different agencies, you can learn to do that all here.
Many of these collaborate with the SBA and other related organizations. John Bradley Jackson, or JJ as he is known to many, is the director of the Center for Entrepreneurship at Cal State Fullerton and the director of the incubator there.
The Small Business Administration, the SBA, says that over 70% of the jobs come from small companies. And so our economy is actually built on the creation and the growth of small companies. So it's critical to our local employment base. Also, innovation, patents, typically come from the small business space rather than the large corporations. So you'll hear the very large corporate giants, whether it's Cisco or Apple or Microsoft, they're constantly acquiring startups. And the reason is they want the technology that is created in the small business environment.
There's some stats out that, so we have first-generation immigrants that start small businesses and then send their children to universities, and then they become professionals. And we're seeing a resurgence of entrepreneurship, but the first generation of immigrant has always been, from a historical perspective, the first path to entrepreneurship. It gives them more opportunities, gives them more potential to grow, and sustain family values as far as having the family involved in the business as well.
He says the incubator has supported and nurtured many new businesses through their 6-month program over the years.
We have startups that have been in consumer products, in software, all over the map. One of our startups in the enterprise software area received a term sheet for $2 million. A term sheet is the offer of funding from an investor, a venture capitalist.
The incubator is actually a catalyst for the economy. So without entrepreneurship, our economy would be flat. So more people work for small to mid-sized companies. So in a way, we are really creating a catalyst for tax dollars as well as growth throughout our local and state.
To date, the incubator has helped launch over 40 startups. Unlike the SBA and SBDC, there is a fee for the incubator program.
We charge a tuition. Many of the for-profit incubators take equity in exchange for the service, and sometimes that's as high as 8 to 10%. So we have a tuition we charge, and we're nonprofit, and in that capacity, we're looking to support local companies that make economic impact in our community, and candidly, we want bragging rights for their future success.
Folks from the outside are allowed to apply as well. So we have students as well as people that find us through our great goodwill here at the university, but it's available to anyone that'd like to apply and qualifies.
There are a lot of free resources that exist with the different federal and state agencies, and so a first step would be to exercise all those resources and then determine if the startup founder and the idea are worth committing to, right? And so in the early stages, you're kind of sorting out what might happen. And then with commitment, an incubator, I think, is a good choice. And that's because there are many pitfalls in starting a company that can be avoided simply through some guidance. So that's the outstanding merit of the incubator, is to coach the startup, through a difficult journey that includes tough decisions and pitfalls.
John Barton, who created a startup called Point and Save, says the Incubator program has been integral in his success.
So it's actually really cool because they have two offices. This one is in Irvine, and then they have another one in Placentia, which is really close to Cal State Fullerton. And so both of them are kind of a shared space, so people can come in, work throughout the day, talk with their mentors. Each resident is assigned one mentor, but there's so many mentors here that you can kind of just pick their brains when they're here. And it's really about getting that knowledge from somebody that's been in entrepreneurship for years and can kind of give you that experience and that feedback.
They can help you transform your ideas into a working model, as well as with often overlooked matters such as the best kind of space for your business, a standalone building, a space in a strip mall, or even a shared workspace.
So there's lawyers, there are mentors here that will come and sit with you and say, okay, hey, where do you want to be in 6 months? Well, you know what, I want to make my first sale. And then that will be your goal. And I want to make my first sale, how do we get there? And the mentor breaks down all those things so that you can understand how to get to your goal through a small baby step process. And that kind of prepares you to go out and do it on your own again and again and again. And it kind of solidifies that discipline inside of you that you have to set a goal, you have to break it down, and realize how do you achieve that goal, and then finally go through with it.
Don't ever stop. As long as you can keep pivoting to something that could work. Your first idea isn't always going to work, but if you're able to be flexible and pivot and change up what you're doing to fit the customer's needs, you're going to win eventually. And it's just key that you don't give up, because I really believe that the only difference between successful entrepreneurs and wantrepreneurs is like the persistence that you have with your idea and your vision. I think if you're persistent enough and you're willing to change and be flexible, then there's no reason that you can't make it.
For us in the Incubator, we have a stronger focus to the startup community, which is a unique beast. And it takes many hours, days, sometimes years, to start a company and to do it successfully. So a startup spends many hours every week with us for 6 months, and honestly the job has only begun at that point.
To see an organization start on paper and then open its doors officially, or open its website online, is a fantastic feeling. So for those of us that volunteer here, we love seeing this, because again, it's adding such great value. From a society standpoint, you're creating someone to have sustainability, financial sustainability, but again, they're giving back to the community. We find many entrepreneurs tend to give back to charities, do things that are community-based. And so again, it's a wonderful thing to see companies start, like I said, on paper, and then really come to fruition.
That will do it for us here on this week's episode of Kinh Doanh 101. With all this help, you're on your way to starting your own business. Join us next week as we introduce you to the nitty-gritty steps of doing business in America and what you need to gather before making your business official. Until next time, thanks for joining us.